We know the rest.
We're not in this job because of wanting to do in this job. We're in this job because we've got these powers, these gifts. We are like superheroes. It's a sad theme park for most of them. That would be interesting.
I mean, it would if half the lobby have loaded into theme park.
That would be.
It could be an issue.
It would be very tricky to cast. I know my problems are the least problems. I know specifically.
I like how you focused on that, Em.
I think the
issue here is going to be our casting.
How are we going to cast this? Nobody's going to understand.
Not half a team attacking Armory and Throne and the other team attacking CCTV and Cast.
It's like they do a perfect execute on CC, but lo and behold, the site is thrown. It's like, oh, damn it.
Got ya.
We should have guessed. We're just giving them ideas for the next combo maps. Obviously, the next, if there's more stadium maps, what 2 maps would you want to see combined? 2 maps that aren't in comp.
Ooh.
Yeah. Let's give you a noodle scratcher.
I tell you what, I tell you 2 maps that would actually combine. It might be a very similar map, to be fair. You could do Yacht and Plane. Because they're the same sort of shape. They're both very linear. So you could still have like one long corridor of a map.
Yeah.
But just half yacht and half plane.
Would you just call it fancy yacht or fancy plane?
I think it'd be more fancy plane.
It would be a boat plane. Is there a real name for them? Like the ones that land in water, like from the rescuers.
A seaplane.
Yeah.
It's called a seaplane.
Okay, cool. I'm glad I've got that ironed out.
Yeah, no problem. We've sorted that one out for you.
Yeah, we've just had a quick pause. If you didn't notice, Dan disconnected. More time to talk about seaplanes. I don't know, chat. What's 2 maps?
I think you could do non-competitive maps. I think you could probably do.
It limits the options.
It does, but I think maybe a mixture of Fortress and Favela. Because you've got one with very little destruction and one with lots of destruction. Yeah. And I think if you come somewhere in the middle,
you might have a good map.
You might have like a really good combination map.
Yeah. I mean, a good combination map.
Oh, bless.
How did that hurt?
Red Light was not happy with that suggestion.
Red Light just said that it hurt his ears. I don't know what Packball just showed to the camera. It was a little toy.
I was too lost in my dreams of a Fortress Favela.
Me and Packball almost actually traded places. Obviously, Packball was me on one of the pieces of content and said congratulations on joining WYLDE.
Yeah, I remember the...
Congratulations on...
I remember your name appearing.
Yeah, Packball is joining the cast. Packball is going to... unless he keeps winning, in which case, obviously, he's probably a bit too busy.
Oh, I've just lost sound in my left.
Oh, that's not good.
Okay.
All right.
Continue.
So, you know...
It's just very disconcerting when you're used to having sound in both ears.
Suddenly... Yeah.
So have I gone deaf? It's not. Don't worry. It's my headset.
Yeah. Well, you're off now.
Yeah, it's my headset. If I lift it off my ear, I can hear.
Okay. That's good.
You're back now. You're back.
Oh, that's good. I don't know.
It's fine.
We're just waiting for a player. I think I might have heard. I've still got hearing in both my ears.
Excellent.
But I am a good...
You're not. Basically, what you're saying, Em, is I'm not 37 and I'm not falling apart at the seams like you. I could see the look on your face, Em. It's not the first time today that you've expressed concern for my health and well-being.
Do you get a lot of people in the fan base that call you like Dad?
I can't say as I've ever been called Dad. No.
Okay. Because I'm in my 30s as well. And I get called Mum so much.
I do semi-frequently get random DMs asking for advice.
Yeah, that's just Des.
That's just daily.
Mate, I need some help, man. I'm from Birmingham.
Genuinely, I do get. So I'm obviously give off an aura of maybe a fatherly figure that can offer some sage wisdom.
You are a father.
I am. That's no secret. Yeah, I am a father. But yeah, that's as close as the community gets to treating me as a father.
And who else would they go to? Parker
would be that I do get DMs for very random advice. Sometimes it's Siege related. Sometimes it's maybe about casting or playing or how to get into this or that, which I'm always happy to help and try and assist. Sometimes it'll be a bit more serious.
DIY.
I'm thinking of doing this at college, or I'm like,
that's a big responsibility for someone who talks about video games for a living.
That's quite out there.
Talking of, we are in the video game to talk of. They went on a little bit of an early peak to see if they could punish Pasha, but he was able to get himself lifted up to the top. They are starting with a hold here, the stretch all the way to the top. The mirror is watching out. Now, you put that mirror on that wall because you assume this wall can fall, and if it starts to, you pop it open and can throw a whole assortment of goodies and baddies out through there. There's the breach. It'll get popped. They're going to try and impact off the exothermic. They do it a little bit too out of rhythm, though. The exothermic was just able to pop off before the impact could make the contact it wanted.
Yeah, it doesn't quite find its mark, so that is going to be wall opened. It's nothing really lost for Wilde's defenders there. You expect that wall to get open.
Yeah.
It's more just about delaying it. Now, Pasha's going to open up lower garage as well, which just makes it a little bit more perilous for Jegs to be staying in position on catwalk here. That's going to be the next sort of pressure point that should come in. Packball's going to fight his way out as well. He was support for Jegs working underneath. If he can stay on these half steps, he's actually in a good position, but he's going to take a lot of damage and a little bit more as Pasha manages to find the opener.
Hiding in the tree, using the camouflage of camouflage itself, and now suddenly the player on the rafters is in a very tricky situation. Jegs, he's going to hold on for as long as possible, but they are circling. Shepard gets aces on the back end. I'm not sure if that was just a catch onto the rotation of the window or not, but Tab does find a single player back in, gets some support there. The swing round, buys him a bit of time, buys them a little bit more that they can work with. A minute left, though, and with what's been open and what's been forced, here it is, the flood of the players underneath. Jags gets one, always has the grenades to see if he can pull the next, and Jags is entirely caught in the corner. They're watching either side. The burn of the first ADS is popped over the top. There's the second. There's one more grenade that might come through, and here it is over the top. It does not get the fight.
That's fantastic for Jegs. The kill onto Joystick that came in was the big moment there, and then not being able to clear him with the nades, that might honestly cost Virtus Pro the round here. They've got 30 seconds left to go, and they need that catwalk control, otherwise it's going to be practically impossible to put the diffuser down. Jegs is going to be full white flash, but they don't make the move quick enough, or do they? They do. They manage to get in, always gets the kill. 20 seconds left to go, and Virtus Pro need to get moving. Teb is in a position to potentially deny this. He's on the Solis. He can move underneath, use the gadget to see where that diffuser is going down, but he is going to need a little bit of cover, a little bit of support to do it, but I don't think they're watching. He's going for the vertical denial. This is going to be big. He can stop this. 1 second, and somehow they manage to hold on. They go for another attempt. It's 1 versus 3, and no! Somehow he manages it. Hungry gets into sight, finds the final kill. What a clinging on of a defense from Wild.
They should not have taken that, and I say that solely on the fact that the Solis played their hand. They moved off and tried to get the kit down. They had no other option. You cannot fault the diffuser planner in this situation. You can't fault the player that rotated underneath to get the kill as well, but there was a third Virtus Pro player that also moved out of position, maybe to try and catch that loose player. I think they were still close to the rafters. Maybe they'd hopped it. I don't know. But either way, they just full focus the Solis in the chaos, entirely forgetting about the Jaeger that they had shot not too much. Like, they'd shot him recently. He was playing around on the other side. Yeah, they dropped down. They'd rotated underneath as well to try and double catch. And
half a second.
It just left.
0.5 seconds left on that plant attempt. Honestly, I love those. I always reference one that I saw from Pino back in 2020 in BR6. I just love. It's the second time we've seen Wild do that. We saw Aces do it on Cafe back in Playday. I think it was Playday 1. I think it was their first game on Cafe. Same situation, 1vx, boof, just take out the planter and win the round at the end of it. And the reason I reference Pino is I saw him win a 1v5. He literally won a 1v5, and it was a one tap as well. He just found exactly the one bullet that he needed onto that planter. But great play from Hungry. You know, in a 3v1 situation there, you're looking at that, and it's so easy to get swamped with who is there, who is where, what's going on. But there he's just been singular in his focus. If I take down that planter, that is it. And that's what he does. And like you say, Virtus Pro have got questions to answer as to why he was able to do that.
I mean, the route that he rotated as well around, past the top of red, past the big open breach, past the view from rafters as well. He couldn't have chosen a more difficult, dangerous route, and it works out. And that's Siege. That's Siege timing. That is how sometimes the cards fall together. Wild. That was a skin of your teeth round. There were still 2 players stood by the end of the last one. You've got to make sure that you can cement somewhere else. And okay, CC, it isn't the most common first pick here. This generally is. Down in the basement, the open hatches this early on for this play, it does give some of the game away, and you've got to trust that your gunners on the loose can do some damage. The first almost suffers outright. Ace is caught as he rotates off the top of the rafters.
This is good from WYLDE so far, playing into the Virtus.pro full clear, getting some players out there to waste that time. It's a minute 30 and they've made the call that they need to get themselves back down to site. I'll be interested to see, I was just going to say, whether Aces can find one of those salvation stations from the Thunderbird to be able to heal back up, which is exactly what he'll do. Leaves them now with, and I like that about playing the Thunderbird. You've got those corner stations back on site, so you can commit to a few gunfights top floor. If you don't lose your lives, you've got 5 back on site, all full health.
Yep.
You know, all's well that ends well.
Now, Virtus.pro, with the hatches open, they can start doing some of the demolition work on what is underneath. They don't have to juggle around with the hard breach that otherwise is such a finite resource on this map. Everything was open in the hope of the whole here in Packball. He's going to see if he can swing round. He gets Aggie, but the cover was from Dan. And suddenly the 2 players flood their way down. They popped the fire canister just to buy some time. Aces pops to rotate. He might get caught at the top of blue in just a second, though. There's a bit of explosiveness on the site itself. They're inside. They've flooded themselves down, and now the loose player is all that's left. The Soulless is trying to find a single idea of salvation, but Aces too late on the rotate, and well, they could not quite get the trap to work its way around. Virtus.pro saw openings, saw hatches, saw an open site and an opening, and Jegs is doing his best to try and pull some of the bodies back, but it's another 1 versus 3 sort of situation. This time there's no hero play to stop a kit to go down. There's one more take. Has to get 1 above, 2 above even. Both have rotated their way up. The hit of the impact, the pop of the flash, the swing of the player. Finds one. He might be able to get himself the ace here. He probably won't be able to get the kit as well. Can't get the final connection. And although the round has gone away from him, Jegs has put in a huge effort to try and pull it back.
I think Virtus.pro, much better attack there, just in a better sync with each other.
Yep.
Might you say the 3v1 at the end of round 1 was something that they needed to address. They've done that quickly. I particularly like Pasha and Dan pushing into Dirt Tunnel. I don't think Packball was aware that there was 2 people there challenging him necessarily. So he came around sort of wanting to challenge hard left, but Dan was already there, prepared, ready to win the fight. And that really opened things up for them, because then you've got the call that they've got Dirt Tunnel. So then maybe I think that took the focus away from blue a little bit. They'd managed to walk into blue at the same time, and it was just one of those attacks that I talk about so often, and a great example of why it works, of being multifaceted onto Church and Arsenal. You do not want to attack this site from just one location, but by pushing Dirt Tunnel, by pushing blue at the same time, it just meant that they could find a couple of kills onto WYLDE players that weren't really looking in the right direction for the challenge that was coming, and it fell apart quickly for them. So well played to Virtus.pro there. Good attack from them, and it leaves us 1-1.
I mean, they read the openings. They read opportunity. They saw it on the cards, and they took it. The hold from WYLDE there was loose. They trusted that they could try and get gunfights that just weren't really offered to them. And I think that's the thing here. They hoped that Virtus.pro would get sort of boots in the ground, steady across, a full clear over the top and the bottom, which they do sometimes do. But there it was, as you said, the sort of pinch against the play. They realized the game. They opened up just as far as around the bedroom. And then from that point onwards went, right, let's now crash our way down to the side. It worked brilliantly here. Virtus.pro, pace against the top. They pull themselves off. They're ready to go for the rotate. And WYLDE, they're going to keep themselves, I think, a little bit closer to each other now.
We've still got Teb up on the top floor there. Again, I like that, you know, they managed to burn half of the round last time. So definitely, I would say, go for it again. Ace is just using that rotation there. Knows that the pressure will likely come through Jacuzzi Breach, but Virtus.pro certainly not being as aggressive as maybe expected. Shepard instead going to be sending the drones in. You'll see exactly where those defenders are holding, where the roamers have been pushed back to. You know, doesn't want teammates going in having to face check anywhere. There's no mute been brought along. Instead, I think relying on the Soulless of Jegs, but he's not in a position to be helping with the drones up on the top floor, so the information should be fairly free for Virtus.pro. They've still got 8 drones on the board. That's actually great going with a Soulless playing on the defense as well.
Danan, 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 as he creeps towards a fire. He won't be able to make the motion through, but Packball is still watching. Ace gets caught on the rotate round, though. He was not, and well, there's the read and a slightly different option. Dan gets a great catch.
Gets a great catch and then gets out of dodge as well. Straight back along that dirt tunnel, out and in towards Kitchen. He's got the skeleton key, of course, that they're going to want to use to open up those vertical angles. Gets in there and starts doing exactly that, just to make life difficult for the remaining defenders which are in sight. It's 4 versus 3 in favour of Virtus Pro at the minute. They've got the map control that they want. They're opening the hatches, and right now they're in a good position to win this round again, attacking onto Church and Arsenal.
Wow, with the focus now being paid down towards Kitchen, they're a little bit behind pace they had last time round, but they have the man advantage, and we know that they have the ability to execute in these narrow windows. The heavy hits, the rain on down. WYLDE have got themselves just a bit spread out, so they get the early call on the pressure plays that might come together. It was a lot that popped very early on, and there's the fire popping at the wrong end of dirt. No double drive from that side this time. Instead, it's going to all raindrop down above them. The first roll of the grenade, they're just going to tuck it close towards the rotate itself. Does a lot of damage towards the side of Jegs. The second doesn't catch. They know about the player tucked behind them, though, as the blinds come across on the opposite end. Dan, he's screamed his way down the long corridor, but look at the timer. They've got to see if they can stick this. Shepard goes for it, and the cover comes across. They're desperately trying to find the fight. Jegs either side, the swing onto the first. Jegs looking for the second. It's a post plant. Caught the head. There's one more round on the back, but he can't make it. Pasha just gets the ultimate kill at the end of that round.
Realistically, closer than it should have been for Virtus Pro there again. A 3v1 at the end, but Jegs just showing that great mechanical skill. Get himself a couple of kills and put himself in the fight for the round. It was a great attempt to bring it down to a 1v1, but just not quite enough at the end there. And ultimately, you know, you're up against one of the best in those situations in Pasha. Always going to be difficult to find that final gunfight. Shepard had been able to put the diffuser down in the meantime as well. So Virtus Pro showing a successful attack onto Church and Arsenal twice over there, and looking pretty good for it. Not too much of a surprise to see WYLDE move themselves away back up to the top floor.
I mean, you're sort of looking at the spread of things here on the side of WYLDE. Jegs, twice in a row, he's been able to thread a lot of kills onto one of these sites. Almost pulled off the ace clutch on the previous one. Unfortunately, 10 seconds was probably the difference of his salvation success there. 3 and almost 4 to clutch it out the second time round. He's keeping WYLDE fighting in these rounds. He just needs a little bit more support from the rest of the roster. They haven't quite been able to wake up to the gun game that otherwise Virtus Pro have had full force. All of them are in tricky situations. All of them are in these power positions.
Yeah, Virtus Pro for, I think, looking better than they did on Skyscraper as well. It's no surprise. It's their map choice, you know, and the comfort is really helping them. Interesting choice to reinforce the wall, play it with an open mirror. Quite frequently, you just see that as left soft and just opened, you know, as a sort of a peek hole across at a similar height to the mirror window there. I guess, you know, the thought process there is if it's soft, you can use a buck, a sledge, you can use an ash breaching shot, you know, many options to just get that wall sort of blasted open to give access to the plant spot. By playing the mirror window like that, you do still have the safety of that reinforcement.
Almost a better execution there. They popped the mirror window just as the pressure came through. However, they missed the impact onto the wing. It's unfortunate. It's those little moments here with WYLDE. They're not quite getting the pinpoint precision we've seen from them in previous play days. Virtus Pro get the breach open. But as you said, the way that mirror window is set up, it's sort of the double-edged sword now, is you have that angle, but you've also got yourself in much more dangerous a box, I would say. You're not really going to have the cleanest rotate out. Not that you truly want to. You want to try and hold that territory for as long as possible. They did do pretty well in the previous round. Hungry!
It wasn't worth it. Hungry, it was a great attempt just to pop out. Well, we'll see if it was worth it or not as the round progresses, I guess. You know, would you give a life for one exothermic charge? It may keep them in position in Garage Catwalk. I think the answer now is that WYLDE have to really make sure that they hold on to that catwalk. Yeah. That it's, you know, they've got to make it worth it, is the point. Hungry losing his life, it was unfortunate for him. The Maverick comes in, going to do the job anyway. At that point, you start arguing. It'd probably be better to still have the gun on the board.
He's doing it cautiously because he knows how important he is to this, but there's caution paid to the wind. a trade either side, though. They do lose Packbull in the top corner. He was flamed out by the Capitao and forced out by the motion. They keep their body balance in their favor, but Jegs is still in this position and been able to burn this out pretty well before the second flash, and the third is the fight, but it's Pasha who said on the tear before that he's dangerous on his day. It's still the same day. 6-2, 40 seconds, and he's trying to see if he can get a cheeky fight there onto Aces, who's getting himself in a very aggressive position. They're taking risks here. They know that they need to sort of make them come together, and Teb's able to find one on the back end. 20 seconds, and look at this positioning. He's hoping to get the player by surprise, but Shepard roots it right through. Suddenly, hey, where are we? Oh yeah, it's a 1 versus 3 clutch attempt once again in this showdown. Teb gets the first. He looks to connect with the second. They've hopped in close here. 12 seconds, and they can't quite stick the plant. There's a running out of ammo the worst time, but who's that? It's the Soulless rooting their way underneath. They pull off the plant. They get the call, the read, and the idea. They're watching the rotations. They're caught on a drone. They still have to stick it, and they don't! Virtus.pro don't get themselves safe, and WYLDE twice on that site, Tim.
WYLDE are playing it very close to the line here and just getting that one done. It was a surprise. I thought, at least a secondary plant attempt would come in. Yes, the man has gone down to challenge underneath from Virtus.pro, but it doesn't matter what you do. If the time ticks away, that's it. That's the end. I'd like to see exactly what was going on upstairs with that diffuser. You've got to start throwing it down again, and you've got to hope that the challenge at the bottom of red stairs is enough to enable you to do that, to take the Soulless's attention away. As it is, WYLDE played it brilliantly. They've taken full advantage of that situation, and they've probably come around, away with a round that maybe was unexpected there. In a 2v1, diffuser in hand, forced off site, you've got to be thinking that the attackers can get that done.
Every single round so far has come down to at least the 1 versus 3.
Yep.
Every single round. The only one that's broken that has been a 1 versus 5. It's dangerous territory here for WYLDE. They're well aware of it. They've made it happen twice on that side, and you're entirely right. The Virtus.pro, you've got to hold the plant.
You've got to.
At the point in the reveal of the Soulless, there's pretty much one place on every single site where you're safe-ish from being there. And in that site, you go into, obviously, the cash room, you get yourself hopped up onto any of the solids, and you hope. It's narrow space, but it's the only one where you can't be directly shot from underneath. They have to try and angle it. Either way, the only thing that guarantees loss other than that is not holding F.
That's the bottom line, and I think I don't want to make it sound like it was just so simple to go and put. It's not. If you've got a Soulless underneath, it is difficult, and the player downstairs particularly needs to play that very carefully, because if they overcommit and lose the gunfight, that's when the Soulless has free reign to stop the plant. So they need to be very sort of cute almost about how they do it. Just a couple of shots here, make the Soulless think about it without exposing yourself to that danger. But Virtus.pro, I think maybe a little bit of panic there. It's late in the round, but it was unfortunate for them. But again, WYLDE taking advantage of that now. Interestingly, fresh question whether we would see CCTV or a bar. As it is, we're seeing both.
Yeah, we haven't seen a gym bedroom yet. They've pulled away from it. We saw one church hold that fell apart, and then one church hold that was almost a clutch out. So instead, they're going to not opt to go back there and see if they can try their luck on the bar itself. Virtus.pro. That breach will get slightly slowed by the mute jammer, but you should be able to take care of that without too much difficulty. Aces has been playing an aggressive game. He's been looking to try and step back into the fights here. Sprays through, but he hasn't quite had any of the luck on that game as of this moment. There's the slight hype up and just a fall down to get that mute jammer. No risk involved.
Yep, nice and easy. Dan just being cautious there, making sure he wasn't going to get jumped out on or anything else, but they had control of the CCTV window, so reasonably safe. That allows Virtus.pro now to start pushing in towards construction, so they've got a good amount of map control. They're 2 minutes into the round. Time needs to be considered, of course. Nitro goes out. Absolute beauty from Aces, and how about that for a starter? Takes down Dan, and they're going to drop themselves away back towards site as well. Virtus.pro are on the back foot.
Yeah, they've been able to finally find that early bite and most importantly pull away unscathed. We've often seen trades throughout this game, and here WYLDE have got themselves entirely tucked back round to the side, all underneath. Aces is prepped. He's gone for the very long rotate. The Blue hatch itself is still closed, but otherwise waiting and watching for the rotate. Joystick suffered on the back end, and you assume that was the player who did the damage. So he's cautious about meeting the fight one more time, but caution can only be paid when you've got 15 seconds left. Pasha above on an angle, does get pack bull. Very well watched there, but now with the eyes on the site, they catch the loose player, they catch the roam, and they catch themselves touching the corner right by the bomb chassis. They are all the way on the other side of the stage. Always is all the way back in on Kitchen to the corridor. They're able to win it out, but they should get the stick. The cover comes through. They get the last player, Joystick. Ooh, he has about as much health as the opponents have players in this moment in time.
Another 1vx to close out a round for Azem. This time it's 1v2, and it's in the favour of Wild. There is an opportunity for them if they can keep the cover here. Just need to get onto that diffuser, but Joystick is in a good position to be able to make the challenge, and I don't think they know exactly where he is, so they need to cover multiple angles potentially here. They're going to go for it. Hungry, is he going to stick this? Are they waiting for the bait to come through? No, Joystick knows where it is, but Wild able to get that one done as Joystick just left it a little bit too late to push in, but with such little health, he knew that he had one chance and one chance only.
Yeah, he sort of made sure that, you know, I've got to play this right, I've got to play this at the right moment in time, and fortunately for him, just a sliver of time too late there. Wild, as weird as it is to say, it's an improvement on Skyscraper, where they had the 2 versus 1 and they could have covered the defusal. This time they did it. This time they made sure the 2 players were able to work together, and look at that, success.
I must say, just looking at the M&M skin, just distracted by the beauty of the M&M skin down at the bottom. I've said it countless times over the last probably 12 months, but I love the team skins that come out, and they just seem to get better and better every single time.
What I love, and I'm so excited to see more teams do them, is the card backgrounds.
Yeah, because obviously that's still quite a new concept.
Exactly.
We've not had it there that long.
Yeah, it's just a flat canvas of art. It's something where
you can just put literally a piece of art.
Yeah, exactly that, and you know, I'm waiting for, I mean, look at Cyclops's.
Because obviously, this is it, you know, in terms of skins and things like that, uniforms, you know, obviously there are restrictions in terms of what can and can't be done with shapes and with angles and with everything else. But like you said, that is literally just
and mascots.
A bit more open to just do as you see, you know, isn't it? So, but yeah, definitely worth going having a look at those if you haven't. There's been some absolute belters coming out recently, and they just seem to get better and better. Speaking of better and better, I'm going to come back to this game then, because as we thought it started out at a breakneck pace on Skyscraper, it's just getting better and better.
In the immortal words of Nelly, it's getting hot in here.
It certainly is. In the immortal words of Ace, I'm on the edge of my seat.
Here we are, though. We might be finding ourselves back towards an even half, back towards Virtus Pro driving themselves. You're still looking at what is kind of pace for pace here. Wild, they are very good at executing on this map. That's something that you've still sort of got in your back pocket here, is when they do get to their attacks, they're pretty solid at getting them together. I think it's some of the preferential play for them on Club. Jegs, in the meantime, look at this. Using his gadget. I think he was being followed by a drone there. There was one that was just making its way just behind him around the side of the toilet. I'm not sure if it truly got the catch on him slipping his way into strip, but either way, if it hasn't, that could spell disaster later on.
It always fascinates me when players, particularly defenders, head into the strip area of the map. Jegs does have an impact nade in pocket, but the reason that I say that is it's a bit of a lobster pot. There's one way in, one way out. Simple as that. And you can maybe make the rotate through to Billiards, but he can't risk doing that at the minute because Virtus Pro now have map control. So it just all depends whether they know he's in there, whether they've found him or not. But keep an eye on Jegs because he could have a real late round impact.
I mean, look at this. They're getting themselves prepped up. They've got the early body and he's still waiting. And we think about the times on this site before where Jegs got, I think, 7 of his total kills and 2 almost clutches across it. And here it is. He's going to see if he can try and be the kindling to a fire that starts a little bit earlier and burns potentially a little bit brighter. Maybe he's realized the game is that they don't entirely hold on to the hold on the top here, and he can strike his way down from underneath. All of the gadgetry is being removed. All of the catches are coming together. Jegs, he starts his slow crawl from the strip club. He's had his fill of the music, and now he wants to try and cause some problems of his own, but has he learned any dance moves?
They need to make sure that he isn't too late in this push. He's got to time it just right, and it may be that time has already passed them. They're down, they put in the diffuser on the ground. It's all up to Jegs. 10 seconds left to go. He goes in, he can't get them both, as always manages to wheel around and find that kill through the hatch. And you just feel for Jegs that maybe it was just 5 seconds too late. Had he gone that little bit sooner, and it's the hardest thing to judge. Maybe he gets 2, maybe he gets 3 inside a kitchen, and all of a sudden you're looking at a very different round. But once again, we have a 3-3 split.
I mean, regardless of how that could have changed, regardless of how that could have been from Jegs, if he'd have gotten the kill, there was about 10 seconds left. There's time to try and grab that diffuser, to try and find that fight, even if he'd got the double. But the big problem there is for the 3 times that we've seen that site, it's been a 5 versus 1, a 5 versus 1, and a 3 versus 1, with Jegs being the sole player alive every single time. There's something WYLDE aren't quite cooking down there that needs a little bit of a tweak, or it's something that they've cooked up and then Virtus.pro have perfectly read the recipe and gone, we're fine with this. This is in our wheelhouse.
Yeah, I think, you know, the important thing, obviously, for us to keep in mind as well, is Virtus.pro map pick. We expect Virtus.pro to be good on Clubhouse.
Yeah.
You know, so coming away with a 3-3 half might not be the end of the world. I'm interested now to see WYLDE on the attack, but I'm also expecting to see a very good, a very competent Virtus.pro on the defence.
Well, for all the lessons that they've just handily doled out here on this bottom site, can they make it their 4th and 100% success rate and pull them into the lead? Something that maybe they should have had a little bit more cemented on a couple of rounds that fleeted away from them, because WYLDE have 100% skin of their teeth. Few of these. You still look at the kill spread, the sort of dichotomy between these two teams. On WYLDE, it's a huge pop-off performance and then a bit of a tuck by the rest. Here's the drive, though. They're trying to get some pace. Caught both of them in the fire. They're just going all the way into the site itself. They drive themselves through. There's the reveal of a gun barrel. They're almost caught out from the main stairs, pushing the swing, but with a low amount of health, Packpool's got to see if he can try and get himself through onto the site safely. They're breaking, breaching, and smashing their way through. They're trying to drive the attention towards the armory side, and Tev and Aces are able to finally start ticking into life here on this, the early fight game. Always misses the slip through. They're able to watch him, just catches it, but with Packpool going for the plant, they've gone above. I believe there's a single rotate that's come through towards the opposite end here, and no, caught out by Aces, always does get one more. The two players have been reunited. There is not a lot of health across the board here. There's still the reveal and the catch on the cameras itself. The verticality's moved away from them. The hatch is still solid, but there's a lot of soft around it to go for the watch. One's in dirt, one's tucked right on the kit itself. The pop of the fire and the rotate round. Pasha does get the player just inside where the kit's gone down. 20 seconds. They've tucked their way back round on the back of main stairs. Packpool, he's watching from dirt. There's the cover of the main door. There's the spray through onto one. They're going to see if they can try and eke out a fight either way, but nothing's being handed to them. WYLDE, they go with pace and they make sure it counts.
Definitely a good round for WYLDE. They're able to get in, just singular focused, and I was a little bit concerned for them at a point where Packpool was having to wait in blue. The Goyo canister was still burning on the ground, and it was just wait, hold, and then the moment came, but there was 2 kills elsewhere on site that just opened things wide up for WYLDE, and they took full advantage of it because that fire burnt out at the same time. They were in straight away, diffuser down, and it was a great execute from them. The follow-up, the post plant, was a little bit tricky for them potentially because of where the diffuser went down. The verticality wasn't really the important thing. We saw Aces head back up the stairs, but he didn't go as far as to kitchen where you would normally try to hold a plant from because he couldn't get the angle onto the diffuser. Instead rotates back down, plays main stairs, and just a really good post plant from WYLDE overall.
Yeah, I mean, they went in with the idea. They knew they had to try and retake some confidence on this map and on this showing and on that site more than anything. The quick drive through, the hope that Virtus.pro's slows were reminiscent of the opening half of Skyscraper, where WYLDE did these quick attacks. They did that quick execute, especially in the second round of the opening map, and it's procs that'll slow them down, or at least give you a bit of a heads up if they try and go for the same thing. It's always a risk to charge through utility, to actively get yourself down to only about 25% of health. This is also a risk always. They've left it soft. The drone rolls through and the player rolls away. He's not going to be caught out by the early spray.
No, we saw Packbull struggling to hold on to that same location, being pushed by 2 players inside a dirt tunnel, and always he's, as you say, going to have no part of that. Puts his goo mines down and drops himself back, just trying to make it as difficult as possible for WYLDE to go in and get that entry onto him. Now then, Dan is on a little bit of a roam here inside of bar, supported by a joystick. Pasha drops back down, so top floor should be clear for WYLDE to move in. In terms of drones, only 4 left on the side of WYLDE, so they are going to be working with limited information, especially to say we're only a minute into the round and there's no Solis on the board.
I like that. All that softed up, so as soon as the Nook tried to make a sneaky entrance, well, there's so sneaky you can be when you've got to smash your way through some wooden walls here. The pressure and the break, the discs just either side of the hatch to catch anything that might try and rotate its way underneath, importantly to play against the Capitao, the bolts that could otherwise run on this map that we've seen run before against Virtus Pro and not in this round itself. The pressure, the spray, the knockback of the shield, there's still the canister just tucked on the side of the door as well if they think they're in too much jeopardy. Hungry's going to step himself a bit closer, but he cannot survive very long if that Goyo canister pops at the worst time.
WYLDE currently stand just 3 rounds away from qualifying for the major, and what a story it would be. Come in to this stage as a new team, win all 4 matches, and then head straight into the major at the first given opportunity. They just need to keep their focus here on the attack. They've managed to do it once on this site already. Can they do it again? They are continuing to try and push the angle from Dirt Tunnel, but Dan manages to find Packbull. That is not going to help Hungry.
Very well played there by Virtus Pro. They read that the push was coming through. They popped the canisters. They had the discs there, and they made sure that nothing could go behind it. And suddenly, WYLDE have to try and rebuild without any real pocket utility. And Virtus Pro are just cutting them down every single time they try and slip through. Teb does get one on the back end, but with the Monty caught in the corner of the site, they've dropped the shield because they know they've got to try and offer something back towards the fight itself. They're driving themselves in. They're pulling back. They're not going to fall for the trap that he's above you, but with 15 seconds, WYLDE have to do more than just be above their opponents. Hungry, he's going to see if he can try and bait the plant. He's going to hope that they can get the catch on the opposite end. There's a spray through. There's a great take from Teb, but somehow able to eke it, and they might be able to get the shield back up. They do. Virtus Pro, they've suffered 2 bodies now, and they've suffered a kick going down here, and you have a lot of questions for the fight. There's an Oryx that misses and goes down, but they at least cement the kill. There's the second. That was almost a tragic round for VP.
That really, for a second, looked like it was going wildly wrong.
Yeah.
Again, heads-up play from Hungry to think there might just be an opportunity to stick this, and sometimes you've got to do it. You get halfway through, you know, whether it was a bait to begin with or not, you know, maybe so from the beginning there's an opportunity, but you get halfway through and you just think, I can get away with this. I'm going to stick this. And I tell you what, especially with the man above in Kitchen as well, I just thought, there's a real chance for him to do this here, because the Monty's going to be a magnet for attention to begin with.
Yep.
Burn a lot of time and then just hold on from Kitchen. As it was, Virtus Pro, they were switched on. They played it well. You know, they dealt with the Monty, but at the same time, they didn't lock all 3 of them into it. And that's something we've seen them fall foul of previously. Instead, they already had somebody moving upstairs to make that challenge as well. And so they did a good job of that.
And I think that's because of the Oryx. You see the Oryx running towards you. At that point, you having your shield up or down, it won't make the difference of what they're going to do to you. They had to drop the shield. They had to try and use that pace to move to a side. They tried to spray the shots underneath, but that moment there, if they didn't have the Oryx to force that play from the Monty, sure, there's more than one way to crack at Monty, but that is the fastest way, and that is the way that leaves less of the shell inside.
We're going to see Virtus Pro taking us over to Gym and Bedroom, a site that was not chosen by WYLDE, so it's our first time seeing it today. We'll see how they go about attacking onto it. We've got the Bandit batteries out on the jacuzzi wall. They are likely to be almost decorational, to be honest. I would expect them. There's a Thatcher on side from Pack Bull. There's no castle to support any sort of bandit tricking, so that should be reasonably easily dealt with, I would expect. And Jacuzzi Wall should get opened pretty quickly, which is exactly what we're going to see. Second EMP comes in, and Hungry is able to open the wall. So as I said, quite decorational. Jegs is able to just walk up and get one for free. Can he find any more? He's got himself right inside a side. Nearly gets a second, but can't quite find the shots. But the damage that is being done by this knock right now.
I mean, you can see WYLDE trying to offer some support. The flashes are coming down Logi Hatch. He's buying as much time as possible, but you gotta give credit to the drive there of the Nook. He couldn't be sneaky on the previous round. He was almost defining on this one. He missed out on eking another one, maybe two. Here, though, unfortunately, the rest of WYLDE just weren't in a position to help the collapse there. I think he got a little bit too much for his buck there, and suddenly a minute 30, and they've lost the body balance. Virtus.pro have a second to breathe, build themselves back in, and go, well, that happened. Let's see what we can do here. We've taken out Jegs, who has been that perpetual thorn in the side of Virtus.pro throughout this. The breach now onto logistics. They still have time, they still have utility, and they still have a chance. They almost pulled it off in the 2 versus 5 on the previous round. They have a little bit more and a little bit less against them this time.
I'll be interested to watch this round back. I get the feeling that Pasha was a little bit of a linchpin in that situation there. You've got the Knock, who's come up, got into logistics, and I'm questioning, I'm asking, you've got Jacuzzi Wall open, why, get the flood, get in there, get into Jim, really put it to them. And I think it was Pasha on the Goyo that's just held them out of the breach. And if that doesn't, I'll be stand corrected if I'm wrong in that, but if that is the case and doesn't happen, then WYLDE absolutely should be winning from that position. But Virtus.pro have done a fantastic job of just putting their foot against the wall and pushing back.
Yeah, I mean, the door itself is softed, so unless they did it afterwards, either way, it's a bit of a route through always. He's tucked close to a fight. Pasha blows one, and Shepard gets the second on the follow-up, and there is the last caught on the side. Virtus.pro, a surprise start to a round with a pretty comfortable landing at the end of it. They pull ahead of WYLDE for the first time.
Yeah, I'm definitely interested to watch that one back and just see exactly how Virtus.pro managed to hold on in that position, because it was certainly perilous. It was impressive that they didn't lose their heads, and they were able to obviously hold those key positions one way or another to prevent that support getting in to the Knock, which has just made such a nuisance. There was a frost map, there was all sorts going on the stairs, but just managed to circumnavigate it, to get around it without alerting to the danger that was heading their way. So that's going to see us in round 10 heading to CCTV and Cash. It is still very possible for WYLDE to win this out in 2 maps from here, but there will be no more mistakes if they're going to do it without overtime. They're going to have to take 3 in a row, and the way that the attacks have gone so far, it doesn't suggest that that's likely.
Whether it's the pressure of being this close to the precipice, whether it's the fact that they're on this map.
It's a very good point.
You have to always remember that with these teams.
I think this may be a bit of both.
It's that sort of situation here for WYLDE. It would be, as this roster goes, their first sort of tier 1 rotation major. Even it would be their first sort of performance on a stage like this in the sort of tier 1 direct scene. Whereas on Virtus.pro side, you obviously have a lot of experience. You have a lot of cool, calm heads that have played in some of the biggest games the game has to offer. It is always something that comes together. WYLDE are making mistakes. There's no two ways about it. There keeps being these engagements that go away from them, or these little slip-ups and moments. And here, otherwise, it turns into this moment where we've got to see if they can just pull it together. And the catch there onto the hard breach means that at least not on the start of this.
Beautiful little bit of bandit tricking coming in from Shepard. I thought at one point that it was almost a lost art, Emmy, and then we've had that update where you can put 2 batteries on the same wall, and all of a sudden bandit tricking is back. For one, I absolutely love it. I think it's a beautiful little cat and mouse sort of mini game within the game, and that has just shown its value there. Wall still closed, a minute in, and good going so far from Virtus.pro.
You have a bandit player on your call when they mute and deafen the call, so they can just hear the wall. And then they're very specific about the holes that have to be made. It's like, no, that's the wrong hole. I can't do this. They're artists.
Work like this.
They're artists, and Shepard is, as you said, keeping the art alive with the updates that come through. They're going to go for a second attempt here. They have the can openers, the pocket roll on this. Shepard is going to dabble on the right side. The double breach, though, means it doesn't really matter. They might be able to impact off the back, but they do get the impact off the back. Jegs is removed by joystick underneath. They try to get the catch with the sledge, potentially hop up on the grenades. Although that they've lost is their star player of this map.
It's a good start from Virtus.pro. Not only have they got that opening kill, the bandit tricking has also wasted an awful lot of time. We're talking about 1 minute 40 by the time those walls were open. There's going to be a lot of utility thrown in to try and deal with Always up on the catwalk, but right now still in position. Out comes the fire bolts there. Not going to have any impact at the minute, and Always still just able to take out that drone as it goes past him. Joystick gets a second in the round, takes Packbull down, and again the fire arrow just in slightly the wrong position. Always tries to take that fight, but ultimately takes a lot of damage as he dances in and out of the flames, and Wild, they take good advantage of that. 30 seconds left to go, 3 versus 4.
Now, can they try and make the best of a bad situation? But it feels like that has been a descriptor for every single round of WYLDE throughout this game. 20 seconds. They're trying to fight their way towards the default. They've got the bulletproof, getting the pings, and it's tucked in an awkward angle, so you can't quite get the shot to remove it. 2 players on the back line are red. The smoke canister's doing all the work. They're going to go for the pop there. The Gon 6 onto it, with Dan getting one more on Teb. That is the kit isolated outside with only 5 seconds. The players pull and peel themselves back to a back line. Aces is able to get one. Cannot quite get himself the kit in time. Virtus.pro, they push themselves to map point and eye up Chalet.
Wow, just seeming to lose their way a little bit in the last few rounds. You know, I credit Virtus.pro with that. But now one round won in the last 5 rounds is not looking good for WYLDE, and it's no surprise to see that tactical timeout brought in. I think it's definitely time to be stopping and saying, look, you know, what's going wrong here? What can we change? How can we just bring a little bit more aggression? Maybe is that what we need to be getting in and getting those opening kills, getting ourselves the advantage?
It's sort of rough. It's rocky. It's a play that we haven't really seen too much of WYLDE. And okay, we haven't seen too much of WYLDE. That's just a statement that you can make of this tier 1 sort of competition, because they are the freshest sort of direct team. I'm going to use promotion. You can't see me at home. I'm using the air quotations promotion. They were able to get a Navi spot, and they've done fantastically with what they've been given. But the longer that you watch a team, the more times you'll see them do better and the more times you'll see them do worse. That's just the nature of any team in any performance in any sport in the world doing whatever. WYLDE, they're looking like they're making these mistakes. They're looking like there's a lot of pressure on this game. They're looking like it is Virtus.pro's map. And it is. But we've seen WYLDE take not just other people's maps, but other people's games away from huge, terrifying teams that anyone would be danger to face. And this is just a moment where things unfortunately aren't quite clicking. However, 2 rounds separate them. The game should be already over, let's be honest.
In reality, as you say, Virtus.pro, can they do what we've seen? You know, I've seen 2 games so far. This is the second game that I've seen tonight, and getting to this point, particularly in the Team Secret game, you know, the 6-4, getting that lockdown. Can they do that better than we've seen teams so far tonight? WYLDE were able to do that on Skyscraper. You know, as soon as the opportunity presented itself, they got it done. So the question is, can Virtus.pro match them in that? Obviously, you know, we're on the the upper side of the decider bracket, so we expect a little bit more from these teams. So Virtus.pro, it's time to get it done on this one.
Jegs, he was the man of a lot of moments earlier on in the game, and he's unfortunately been a bit of a false starter the past couple of rounds. Teb is able to lead in, though. They get the first body in what feels like a long time. They're starting to lean in here. It's a fight over the side of strip and cutting out a single VP player. Dan wants to see if he can try and step in. He drops the drone and peels back, though. He realizes, I think, just how much is cooking around him, and a 4 versus 5 can still be fought with all the support of the site itself. A 3 versus 5 becomes worryingly inevitable for how these games like to go. WYLDE aren't going to overstep and overstay their speedy welcome, though. They're making sure that they're still playing as a unit, something that we've missed a bit from this WYLDE, this map.
Just checking out the strip area, just making sure that side of the map is clear to move into. We'll probably have a bit of vertical work coming in very soon as WYLDE, I think, pretty happy now that they've got that top floor. Always is down and out, and as I say, that's going to be the verticality coming in, just opening up that angle, maybe a little bit of sound call or something to suggest there could be somebody at the bottom main, but that won't be the case. Default cam taken out, and Jegs will continue that work from above. There's a lot going on from WYLDE at the minute. I like to see it. It's very industrious. We're a minute 40 into the round. There's hatches opening. There's vertical angles. It's showing them some, there's some confidence there that they haven't missed anybody. They're not going to get caught on the flank. They're happy to just be focusing on what they're doing, and be it showing a real direction from them. A lot ahead of time as well compared to what we often see on this map. Usually Church and Arsenal will see it down to the last 20 seconds or so. We saw it out of Virtus Pro when they were on the attack. So, this is good from WYLDE. Jegs manages to get another. They're going to open up Church Wall. Literally, they're ticking every box of these attacks at the minute.
Yeah, this is so much tighter, so much nicer as an approach here. 40 seconds. They've got the Church Wall open. They're going to have to see if they can try and counter. They blind everybody in the back of blue, but Joystick is the loose thread that might have put himself in a precarious position. Although droned out, Aces gets one more. It's the 5 versus 2. They know that a player is trapped in here. They are circling him with bullets. Can he fight his way out? There's the swing. There's a new position. It's a dangerous one to find himself in. They're trying to buy him as much as a breath of fresh air as possible. A 4 versus 2. He gives the game away and gets caught out by Jegs on the back end. It is just Dan left. Not for very long, though. WYLDE, I would say one of their strongest rounds throughout this map, maybe the strongest that they've been able to play just in the dying throes. Virtus Pro, they're still only 1 away from pushing this one over the edge, but now WYLDE are only 1 away from an overtime.
I think definitely their strongest attack. It was very good, as I said, in that mid-round, like a minute 20 left to go. Still lots of work being done by WYLDE, moving very quickly, not letting themselves get behind that curve of the clock, wanting to make sure that they stayed on top of it at least. And it was good from them. So, yeah, I like what I see from WYLDE on that attack. Virtus Pro, they've got one more attempt here. They've taken us now all the way to 12 rounds, and I mentioned it in the last round, and I mentioned it for that reason. Are Virtus Pro going to have a similar problem to the one that we saw between Heroic and Secret, where they would get to that point? We had a 6-4 and a 6-3, both ran all the way back to overtime before a team could get that finish. And you look at this and think that could just be WYLDE's opportunity if that breaks the mentality of Virtus Pro a little bit.
So, WYLDE, you've had the timeout, and all you've got ahead of you is this. A single round to push you, 1 round at a time, and, we're starting to get a little bit more of the balance. There is still an imbalance in the team, but as long as you can make that work as a team to your success, not everybody needs to be the threat and the threat on the scoreboard, as long as the scoreboard is something that ticks into your favor. It's down to Virtus Pro to see if they can keep causing problems, most notably Jegs, who, as I said, he was a bit quiet in the rounds just before. Shows up and gets another couple tacked on to his pretty impressive tally already. But they rotate over the top, the attention paid before. Last time we sort of commented on the lack of support for the swing round on the sneaky player. This time no sneaking, but definitely a lot of support.
Going to have the wall open. Ooh, they need to be careful there. Hungry almost caught out with the left-hand battery that wasn't quite picked up by the EMP. That will now be opened up, so that is all good. Jacuzzi done within the first minute. They're not going to get away this time with a knock wandering up the main stairs. It's not going to be a player's. She's not on the board probably for that reason. They know that play is a one and done, but I'm looking forward to seeing this. Last time around we had that push up, and I think it starts to sort of dictate your whole round because that's what you're playing behind. I think we're going to get more of a standard attack from WYLDE here. We're going to see what they will usually bring to this site, and I'm interested to see what that is.
Minute 30, every player still standing. I think you can sort of smell the importance of this round based on the caution that's being paid. Virtus Pro, they've tucked themselves a little bit further back this time. WYLDE have tucked themselves around on a big rotate. They have got themselves prepped up here to force this, the fight over the top. Shepard will get the catch though, and that all stays standing. Jegs does find Dan in the meantime. a trade of a bit of utility for the attention paid onto a kill, a good catch. However, it means this is a very dangerous bit of territory to try and attack now. Shepard can hold on to it, always has a safer rotate back through. Asus doesn't have a straight route. At this point, you're looking at Wild, you're looking at under a minute, and you're looking at what is going to have to turn into a brawl, jumping through onto the site itself, using the breach that they've got, and seeing if they can slip their way via the windows and the hatch, the pop of the smoke. The attention paid from Pasha to every single angle. Joystick is holding up on construction door. They still have the territory because the wall did not fall. They had the attention paid either side, and with 30 seconds and Pasha going down, at this point, Wild have to just jump the windows.
Nade comes in, will finish off Pasha. Ted manages to get Shepard. It's all falling apart for VP, but all of a sudden, Joystick always managed to find one apiece. 20 seconds left to go, and Wild, they need to find an answer. They need to find it quickly. Joystick manages to get one, can't find another. Jegs, he's there for the trade. It's 2 versus 1, but they're going to have to think about the diffuser, but Jegs, he's out. It's 1 versus 1. This is 8 seconds left to go. Nitro comes in from always. He can't move through because of the fire that's in the way from his own team's gadget. And in the 1v1, he manages to find a slim angle onto Hungry and is able to take him down to get in and close out the map. Unbelievable finish to yet another round in this matchup. It just takes me back to the position we found ourselves in on Skyscraper M with rounds coming down to the last 10 seconds. Hungry so unlucky, and Wild, they're going to have to take this one to 3 maps.
I kind of really want to see it. We didn't expect this game.
I want more of this, as much as you can give me. This is brilliant.
It has been an absolute brawl back and forth. 19-10 from Jegs. He was the lifeblood. I said it at the time. A few of